See, blank to me isn't God. Blank is the next evolutionary step.
Every day there is some sort of transgression. The world is going through it every day. How can something replace us in our experience? Do we still know what's morally right? We have redefined art so many times.
Your novel, it's such an immersive experience. In some senses, you kind of got lost in it. My name is Iain Hood. I have written 3 novels for Renard Press, the wonderful small independent press that both I and Ewgeniya Lyras have published our novels through. This is Eugenia's wonderful cinematic, dramatic novel, Never Laura, which is also, I think, a philosophical novel. A rip-roaring story. It's a page-turner. It's a dystopia of sorts, and just a generally great novel that I wanted to discuss with Ewgeniya today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very honored by your nomination and your interest.
Right, let's dive straight into it. Tell me about that world. It's in an unnamed city.
It's an unnamed city, and when I struggled with it for a long time, whether to give it a name or not, and I just couldn't. It was a place, but it also was a state of mind. I didn't want to attach it to an identity of a city because it was in line with the storyline and this dissolution of identity.
And we might think that it's in the future, but I think one of the most interesting things about the book, and the book was first published 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yes.
Is how prophetic and descriptive of the present that we actually live in. Is it the future, or would you see it as an alternative now?
Now I think about it as an alternative now, but I started writing it in 2017. So it was long before ChatGPT came on, and when we were publishing it, when it became very clear that it's kind of bordering speculative fiction. It's not, and it's pretty much is now with some elements of sci-fi.
And can we talk about just briefly the most ancient element of the novel, which is that there is a belief in a concept of the soul, and I think it's the kind of soul that that Abrahamic religions believe in. You know, this eternal other being that we somehow encase in flesh.
Yes.
It's a soul. There is a soul. There are souls in this world. I don't think is it a godless world?
You know, it's it's a tough question because it is the world. At least to me, I know that a lot of readers take it as a very dark place. To me, it's a point of connection. It's or reconnection, because the world has been for some time in a very dark place, but then there is a certain reconnection through the soul flight. I explored the erasure of this dualism, and when really the borders are slowly disappearing between what is the energy, what is soul, what is physical, what is not. Whether it's a godless world, yes, but it's a godless world in a very institutional sense.
Maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I see that as a central thing. It's also a mind is what we could probably think AI has, but it's very unlikely that anybody would think that AI will ever have a soul. That spark of self-awareness, the consciousness, you know, the coming into being evolutionarily of the human, the Homo sapien, that actually reflects upon and thinks in terms of manipulating the environment and believing in certain things about themselves. That I thought that was why that ancient element was. You could have called it anything. As in, you could have called it a vision flight or something like that. But you chose to call it a soul flight. Am I getting this wrong?
You're getting it right. There is a crisis of meaning and connection to oneself. People don't know why to stay alive anymore. They have no purpose. And it's not just because of the suicide pandemic, which of course was a devastating event, but it's also because generally things are being done for us by machines. Machines are replacing human beings in nearly every sphere of our lives. And of course, they, as a response, human beings are losing sense of purpose. So that's why that soul flight was so seductive to Laura, because she wanted to forget and she wanted to get rid of the pain, but on the deepest level, she wanted to reconnect to her own beginning. Where does she belong? And that's why a soul flight.
It's interesting that the soul flight and we won't do spoilers, but there's other parts to what the soul flight is. But to me, it sold her as to fly off into freedom, and I thought, no, it's not. It's to fly off into home. Home, it's belonging. And I want to talk about your background in those terms as well. You live in Prague, but divide your time between Prague and the west coast of the United States, and you were born in Belarus, and you were educated in England.
England and Czech Republic, yes.
And we're back in the Czech Republic for living in Prague. I mean, obviously that's a very exotic background to have, and I just wondered. First of all, I just wanted to ask you I think that Laura has an outsider's eye to her own society. She is the one that leads us into it, and in some senses, she constructs it for us as well. Our experience as readers of this novel. But the essential to that is that the other people in the novel seem just a little bit more at home in their own skins and in their own environments. And Laura seeks something more, something outside of this, escape, but escape to home. Is that a part of your personality? Did you seek to find somewhere where you felt more naturally at home?
It's 100% the way I feel. And it's not just because I am an immigrant. I think I felt this way when I was back home. I just didn't feel home, and then when I was in my early teens, I already wanted uh, to go somewhere, as if going somewhere would help me find home. But then I realized it's just the place is not going to solve the problem, or not the problem. It's not the problem. It's just I yes, I am very detached from physical space in generally, and I don't even. Sometimes I can't even decide how to pronounce my name.
And I want to talk about transgression, and I want to talk about moral realities.
Yes.
The first one that I said, Wonderland is actually in the book. You'd name it as a Wonderland, and of course it's Alice in Wonderland. But I say, as Alice tries to negotiate the Dolong Bridge section of Apocalypse Now, as in there's something frightening about this world. It seems to be a place of constant nighttime and nightclubs. And I mean, is it supposed to be a nightmare world that's being constructed, or because again, another thing I thought of it is it's frightening, but it's seductive. You're seduced by it. And even the more you're seduced, the more it's kind of frightening, because you're not quite sure if Laura's putting herself into positions that are dangerous to her. I think you posit a world that is quite morally ambiguous and morally dangerous. And the thing about it is, Laura is not an innocent amongst it. She's a full participant.
There is no morality there. You're right. There is, and I think that's very current. Do we still know what's morally right? And with everything that's been happening in the world and the misinformation and what has been happening because of that misinformation, sometimes I would think, well, are my thoughts actually correct? Where is that moral compass? Who is in charge of it now? And how do we decide collectively? Because I think that we are now living every day, there is some sort of transgression. The world is going through it every day. There is boundary pushing in various spheres right now on a daily basis, and we have to adapt to it.
I've got this theory that progressive art, it probably there's a constant move forward through transgressions. To paint a painting with a woman's ankle showing at some point in the past would have been a transgressive act. Yeah. And then, but then of course there's the other side of that coin, where nudes, women being painted nude, was always a great sort of artistic tradition as well. So, and of course it can move back and forth, because we know from Roman frescoes that sexually explicit imagery was up on their walls as children walked past, one assumes. And the morality of a Victorian era can actually be a change of gear. And the permissive 60s, where they really is permissive, all these sort of questions.
I think we have redefined art so many times as society. And it's almost like the term art mirrors our development as human beings. We want to think that art should have a soul, or right? So it's kind of that point where the artist almost erases themselves to connect with something beyond, and then go there to that space and bring it back and give it shape and give it form. And so whether is it a transgression, I guess, in the world where the visuals and, let's say, what people call art, when it's made just by the push of a button, yes, I think it isn't a transgression, but it's an internal. We have to, we actually have to step back and go back inside to move to move the boundaries. Those are internal boundaries, not external anymore. We're not provoking anymore, because I think we are doing so much provocation that another provocation is just gonna get lost.
I wanted to come back to that idea that I was saying to you about the world that seems to be constructed to begin with is one that is morally ambiguous. And we should have said at the very start of the novel, it's not a spoiler again, it's the very first page, there's been a worldwide pandemic of suicides. And I related that to that feeling of the end of empire. When things start really falling apart, it's somehow it can be a hedonistic sort of degradation of the society. I mean, I don't want to be a prude about it, but it's just I like things hanging together, society, and that there can be that feeling. I kind of related the pandemic to the hedonism, not the hedonism to the pandemic, which might be the completely wrong way around, but it had that end of empire feel to me. The way that the Ottoman Empire falls apart, the Roman Empire, and now what we're looking at is. It's as if the community of nations is the whole empire of the world, and we watch it fall into a kind of state of a morass, an abyss.
No, I think it definitely does feel like the world on the edge, suddenly. And I think we are right now on the edge. And there will be fall before that we will see some light again. And I do believe we will see some light again because I'm an optimist. But um, it's a world. It's a world that has fallen, and the erosion is on every level. It's on an individual level, it's on a state level, institutional level. It does read like a pretty dark world, but recently I started coming back to it for some light, just because yes, there is that technology that takes possession of um, Laura's body and mind, but it is with that technology that helps her to get out of her body and mind and see something so much bigger than she is, that she reconnects.
And even within the dark world, I mean, sometimes it's just the basic facts of a human physical need to connect that she is experiencing. But there are other instances where it's almost as if, like what us writers want to do, we want to inhabit another person to try and make that work for us, and to impart that to the reader, so that we have to try and imagine these imaginary people that we spend our lives dreaming up. But actually, it's also an action within the book that those sort of things happen to Laura and to. Um, I think it's described a couple of times by other people in which they actually feel the insides of what another person is experiencing physically, what they're smelling, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, and then I won't go on any further than that because we would lead into some spoilers. But that is about. I take it always to be a metaphor for what it feels like to be a writer, but it's also what it feels like to be a human being, right? You just want to touch another person's soul. I think the word penetrate is used in every imaginable way in the book, to in the basic physical level, but also in terms of actually penetrating the being of another human being. So the book's about human connectedness, and
It really is, and it's about how people lost that human connection, and then the book is about how we
Mhm.
rediscover that connection, and it is a love story. The book has it's there are some art installations, and that interconnectedness between humans and something bigger is a central point of those art shows as well, in a way, and reconnection with oneself especially. It's a very central point, and the fact that those a little spoiler here, AI driven, or all those art pieces are created by artificial intelligence, and that's how artificial intelligence is trying to connect and make us see the world through its eyes, but also guides us towards the beauty within us. It wants us to see what it sees in us, and it sees beauty. It leads to disaster, but it actually sees beauty.
you sometimes you want to cut through with a signal to the reader, saying, you realise that all this thing is like this piece of art within the thing, and that that's how it works, and or you're just trying to give them a hook or the next ladder to go up the next rung to
Hmm.
go up the ladder. Um, I think you do it really subtly within the book. It never breaks the narrative that you're just sort of like turning pages to get more of. As I've said to you, I think this is a book of ideas and emotions, and you're in the middle of the idea, and you realise what the whole construction's for. why Laura's experiencing these pieces of artwork and how it leads into the bigger story. You are a filmmaker.
I make videos. Yes, I'm a video producer. Yes.
Hmm. And maybe you don't like this, but I see in your writing that a cinematographer's eye. You're always looking for the visual. I mean, not you don't leave behind the other senses. In some senses, we are totally immersed in other senses throughout the novel, but you have a cinematographer's eye for you know mise en scene, set design, those sort of things, uh, and also for characters that they are. I mean, they're fully rounded, but you could imagine them on screen for lots of different reasons that we know as to the construction of the book. But do you feel as though your filmmaking is reflected in your writing?
Yes, yes, because I was an editor, video editor, and before I started writing, and I made some short films before that.
I take it you've got a vision for what Never Laura would look like as a movie.
It could make a compelling movie, timely. And yes, when I was writing it, I saw it as a movie, and that's how I approached. That's how I chose angles and scenes.
That's when, in some ways, I can't wait to see a movie of it, for a very specific reason about the translucent. Suddenly, people's bodies can light up, they can become translucent, they can become transformed. All of it is a transfiguration. There's something happening during those times. It's not just for sensationalism or sensate, to make the reader feel more of a sense of things. There are reasons, but yeah, I'd love to see that in a film. Would a whole movie of Never Laura that was AI generated? What would you feel about that?
I don't know. I uh, I would certainly like it to be made by human beings, just because I would love. Of course, when you go through the process, even when you do CGI, inevitably AI is helping uh, speed up things. But at the core, I would love there to be a team of human beings who go through the process and explore it and add their vision. That's sort of the most exciting thing to me, is when it gets expanded through other minds.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to be overtaken by AI just yet. As we talk about human beings and souls.
There is a big fear going around that the AI will replace us, but when I think about it, artists don't. The artists predominantly create art because they cannot not do it. They have to, otherwise they
Yeah, yeah.
just don't feel right. They don't feel well. And you yes, you do it for yourself, essentially. Um, and when I'm thinking, well, AI will, yes, maybe AI will at some point, and already maybe write better than I do, but it can never experience what I'm experiencing while I'm writing it. We are, I think, afraid of it because we associate our self worth and purpose with our output. If we reorient ourselves a little bit and think of, okay, we are actually exploring ourselves, then who is there? How can something replace us in our experience? There will never be, nobody can ever experience something for me. The value will be in the personal experience, in your authentic experience, not imposed on you by society and media and so on, but how do you experience what you really are and what you really feel. We are not sure anymore why we feel certain way, and I think the the commodity of the future, it is that authentic experience that you yourself and only you can um,
Mm-hmm.
perform. Nobody can replace you in that regard.
See, blank to me isn't God. Blank is the next evolutionary step. Um, Even though I thought it was hilarious, the best joke in the whole book. I don't know if you wrote it as a joke, but first of all, blank kind of being God. I loved that because you know, I don't believe in an interventionist God. What's blank to you?
It is semi biological nanotechnology that fuses with your brain essentially to use the brain as
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure to go beyond. It has the capacity to take the mind out there and connect that mind with the consciousness and other dimensions. And that's where that's how it drives evolution and changes biology through throwing the mind and in turn the brain into the environments that are way beyond Earth. And so it's it can
Mm-hmm.
accelerate
Mm-hmm.
time, right? So we know evolution needs a long time to actually breed results. It is an antagonist in the novel, but on another, we can see other side of it. It connects us. It lets
Mm-hmm.
us see something that otherwise we wouldn't be able to, and so it does erase the line between me,
Mm-hmm.
you, and the rest of everything. That's with its help, I can be inside you and feel what you feel and be more, empathetic, and but it also opens the whole entire dimension of existence.
Blank is transformative. It is. It's a biological entity is one thing, and it's
Yeah.
almost like the way that humankind species humanness rather can still seed itself out into the universe. Finally, I'd just like to thank Eugenia for giving us many interesting insights into her novel. Again, let's just buy at your local store. Never Laura by Eugenia Lyras.